Hey, Sooner football fans. It's your Sooner football fans podcast. You got Terry and Rob here. Boomer Rob.
Boomer Terry.
And we're coming at you from the Podcast Palace in Norman, Oklahoma, where
we are not affiliated with the University of Oklahoma,
but we do have eligibility left. And make sure and hit your subscribe button. Like whatever it is on your podcast app that you listen to. Follow us on it. Follow us on Twitter, Sooner FB fans. Like our Facebook page. Go to www.tailgateconnect.com. Sign up for the Oklahoma UCLA tailgate by Dan the Tailgater, who's throwing the Oklahoma tailgate out there. It's $40 for all you can eat, drink, and be merry with from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'm laughing because Rob just got his headphones tangled up and couldn't get them untangled.
That was fun.
And also check out our Thursday night at Louis video on YouTube. We're at Louis every Thursday night around 5 o'clock until I get drug out at some point in time. But come out and hang out with us anytime there. And when you're around Campus Corner, swing in and tell them we sent you, and they'll look at you really funny. So, because they'll go, "Who are they?" But we do have a picture up in there. So, and Rob, what else they need to catch next month?
They should catch us next month on Netflix original QB1, where we're going to be talking a little bit about Spencer Rattler during his high school career. So.
Yeah, so we will let y'all know the more information we get on that as it's getting ready to come out. But as promised, we have never proclaimed to be superstar knowledgeable about anything.
Not anywhere near this guy. That's for sure.
Our opinions are our own. They don't. They may not be your opinions. They may not be right, but they're not wrong. That's what we always like to say. But from time to time, we get folks like this, guys like this, on the podcast who know what's going on, and so we like to share their knowledge. We like to grab their knowledge from them and let them share it with you. We've got Brandon Drumm on the podcast. Boomer, Brandon.
What's going on, guys?
Oh, it's what is it? Tuesday. It's going okay, I guess. So how have you been? I know you've fully recovered, rolling out really well now. No,
No. I'm the stuff I get to do is because of medication. I'm not even gonna lie. So it covers it up and allows me to be somewhat human right now while I'm going through the healing process. So I guess the more I do things, the worse it probably gets, and probably takes longer to recover. But we're having issues with the whole simulator, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I still have a job to do, so
well, our prayers are with you, bud.
Yeah, and you have.
I appreciate it.
You don't have just a job to do. You've got like 9 jobs. You've got the Young and Drum podcast, one of the co-hosts of that. You appear on 105.3 CBS Radio, sports radio. You're the lead recruiting analyst on the OUInsider 24/7 Sports, who I read on a regular basis. And you're, like you said, you're a husband and a father, and you're coaching Little League football?
Yeah, I help coach
he is
Little League, yeah.
A husband, not he doesn't have a husband. He is a husband, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Just, wanted to
I
clarify
promise.
that for you.
Yeah, but so now what? Your son's pretty salty quarterback, isn't he?
He's pretty good, yeah. He loves it. He has a lot of passion for it. He's a kid that obviously grew up around going to the practices and the games, and he got to know Baker Mayfield pretty well and all that stuff. So he kind of fueled the fire in him to the extent that at this point in his life, we just kind of let him have fun. He came to me and said, "Dad, I want to do what they're doing. I want to train." He was like 5.5, and I said, "You know what? My buddy's a 6A coach. I'll let him do whatever." So I said one time, we'll go once. If you enjoy it, we'll keep doing it. I said, but you've got to come ask me when you want to go do it, and we'll set up a time for you to go work and train or whatever. And 2 years later, he's still going at it and loves it even more than he did then. And that's all he cares about. Wakes up in the morning, wants to watch football on his iPad, wants to see the stats, wants to see how the Thunder are doing. That's his obsession. And he also is he's a first grader, but takes second grade. He takes third grade math and second grade reading, whatever they do. So he's really smart. So he's one of those kids that just has a passion for life, and we love him for it because you don't ever have to tell him to work hard or give it 100%. He just does it.
Well, that's cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. Now, one of the things, Rob and I, we talk to each other about OU football, and, we've gotten to know you fairly well and some other folks in the media fairly well. But you guys, we talk about, man, when we started the podcast 2 years ago, year and a half ago, they were like, that'd be fun to do. Well, we're learning now it's a lot of work. But then we meet guys like you and Colin Kennedy and James Hill. You guys got like 5 jobs. And I'm like, I don't want their job anymore. This is the podcast.
We just thought we wanted it.
Yeah. It's like doing the podcast is hard enough and everything that we do that goes along with it. But like I said, you guys that cover Oklahoma football, you cover it from all different angles, from all different outlets. And it's amazing that you're able to keep up with it, because I can't keep up with, myself and my grandkids and Rob. So, but it's really interesting to see and listen to you guys. I mean, I listen and I read, I do more on the internet reading and stuff, and have since I started doing this, a lot of your stuff, and others. But I mean, you guys are ultra busy, and I know here in about a month, it's going to be just swamped, right?
Yeah. 2 days from now, my life completely changes. So, yeah. My wife's from parent. Honestly, the funny thing is so we're going to, they're doing the media day on Friday morning, and then afterwards from 1 to 3, they're doing the Meet the Players, where if you're 14 and under, you can do it. And, people make fun of me and stuff for taking my kids to that, but my kids love it so much that I'm a dad first, and that's what people always try to make people realize. Man, I'm a dad first. I don't care that I do this for a living. I don't care that I could walk up and get those autographs anytime I wanted to. But that's not the point. The point is that my son loves it, wants to meet these guys, and he wants me to do it with him. And so I'm going to do it with him. My dad did it with
as
me.
well you should.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I know there's some media people that kind of get, they don't think it's right that I do it, and that's fine. That's their opinion. Their opinion. I'm a dad. That I almost I can tell you that they don't have kids, so that's their opinion.
I mean, if they did, they would have a whole different opinion of it.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're able to take your kids to stuff like that, you take them and you let them experience it. And I mean, I think it's cool that you involve your kid, because he gets to see you work as well as get to see the player. So he's spending time with you, which is super important in this day and age, that a kid can see what his parents do and is the word, I'm not want to use the word idolize, but I guess idolize his dad and say, hey, look at what my dad does, and I get to go with him, I get to see it, and he benefits from it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great. So anybody has a problem with that, come see me and Rob. We'll set you straight. So.
No, it's more or less at this point where during football season, that is my time to spend with my kid, because it is a nonstop grind of you just don't get a break. Even during the off season, there's a lot of me up till 3 or 4 in the morning working, trying to get things done. And it just, so any chance I get, I'll take him. Like, he went up to Tulsa and went to a couple of camps with me, passing league camps and team camps with me, I guess, a couple of weeks ago. And he loves the heck out of it. So I want him to enjoy it. Now, my youngest, would love to go, but we call him Kainado for a reason. So we can't allow that to happen just yet. He's 4, but he's not like the oldest. The oldest was very focused. This one would like to go out there, and even though the players are in full pads, he wants to go tackle them too.
Oh.
He has full disregard for his body.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it sounds like you may have a linebacker on your hands as well.
Yeah,
so
right. He's big too.
Yeah, but
very big.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that your kids, when they get our age and your age, they're going to look back at that and they're going to love it. It's going to be a time, because I remember my dad was disabled, and my dad was at everything I did. He was at practices. He was at high school football, he coached me in Little League, all that stuff. And when I was in high school, it was kind of embarrassing. You're like, you sit there and here come my dad's pickup. He'd back up to the practice field and he'd get out and he'd sit on the tailgate and watch practice. A few other parents, and I appreciate it now, but I appreciate it the most is when the guy that played quarterback my senior year, Chris Green, down in McAllister, he asked me how my dad was doing, and my dad had passed away at that time. He goes, one of the things I can always look back on and remember is looking at up on the hill and seeing your dad sitting on his tailgate watching us practice. And I was like,
that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, that other kids now saw it, maybe thought it was weird back then, but now it's like your dad was at everything you ever did. And I was like, yeah. So that's the cool thing, and that's what your kids are going to have. So
yeah, and I got it from my dad because he was one of the head people for an oil and gas company, and he'd be out on rigs, and he would literally tell people, okay, you're going to do this, this, and this. I'm leaving, and he would drive 3 hours to wherever my game was, 4 or 5, didn't matter, maybe 6 hours to my game, go to the game, watch it on a Friday night, turn back around, without going to sleep, give me a hug, tell me I did a good job, and hop in his truck and go back out to wherever he had to be to finish his job. So he was very dedicated, and I always said I would do the same thing. So I hope I'm doing that.
Yeah, I think you are. Well, let's get into a little bit of Sooner talk here and recruiting.
Yeah.
And first off, we wanted to, point out that, this is the second year we did it. Last year we had, on the same day as Champ U Barbecue, we started what we called the Champ U Fan Feast. We had a little gathering here at our house with some people that had been on the podcast. We thought we'd do it again this year. Glad we didn't have it at the house because we had about 40 people show up.
Wow.
Yeah, if you've ever been to Louis on Campus Corner, Louis to the back pool room, it was standing room only in there. And we had folks from California, Houston, Fort Worth, Idabel, Tulsa, Guthrie, where else, Rob? Pauls Valley.
Yeah.
I mean, and folks that are on Twitter, and then also just people who listen to the podcast and just wanted to come out and hang out. And we had a blast. We did a little question and answer session, real, kind of, stuff that Sooner fans sit around and talk about.
Just fan stuff, yeah.
But it was a great turnout for everybody who came out. Thank you. And we're going to do it again next year. But, a couple of times me and Rob and Demo and Holzhammer looked out the window at Louis, and we could see the stadium lights on, which gave us all chills going, it's getting close.
Cool, yeah.
It's getting, and knowing that right there was the barbecue going on. So,
right.
Which has become, how many years in a row have they done this now? It started back with Bob, didn't it?
Yeah, 2016 was the first year. 2017, I can't remember. I want to say it's 2017. Whatever. It was 2016 because it was for Sooner Squad 17. So, yeah.
Okay.
2016 was the first year. And so this is like year 4. Yeah. So, yeah.
And
yeah, it's gotten progressively bigger. More people are showing up as far as even at y'all's fan feast, obviously.
Yeah.
So as the barbecue grows, the fan feast seems to be growing. And it's gotten to be a big deal. They've kind of fine tuned some things that probably didn't work as well in year 1 or year 2, and it kind of substituted in with some other ideas that they think are hitting a little bit harder and working a little bit better for the event, and obviously being a smoother transition from one thing to the next. So that stuff has stuck around. Obviously, the pie fight has been a staple.
Yeah.
The balloon fight has been a staple. Other than that, the barbecue has been a staple. And now it seems to be the other staple that is really taking hold is a scavenger hunt, which they've incorporated in kind of a campus tour. So they kind of make the tour of the campus a scavenger hunt and make it fun instead of one of those bland, okay, we're going to drive you in a golf cart here. So they team up and, I don't know what, they get a prize. I don't know if they can do that. I don't know what the rule is, but something happened for the winners. And I think it's cool that
that's cool.
they make that a competition, which means those players have to bond, which means they get to know each other better, which means the families get to know each other better. In turn, makes it a better chance that you're going to end up with that kid signing in that class. And if you kind of look back at all the attendees at the Champion Barbecue, it seems that I would say probably 80% of them end up at Norman at some point in time, whether it maybe they transfer out or whatnot, but they sign at Oklahoma. I think that is something to be said about the event, and it doesn't mean that you're going to get commitments every time that happens, but setting the foundation in the long run for recruiting is what that thing is for, first and foremost. If you get commitments out of the deal, that's an added plus. That's kind of where I think the Oklahoma staff kind of sees it and kind of how they envision it going each and every year. And it seems to kind of work out that way. Now, obviously, they didn't get a commitment this year, but it seems that they've laid the foundation for guys in the future that are going to be big staples in the 2021 and 2022 classes that could really propel them to have big-time classes in the coming years.
And now, did they, as in the 2020 class, almost everybody that attended was a commit, weren't they? They had like 3 guys.
Noah Renze, Jonah Monheim, and Rome Udunze were the uncommitted guys that were there. Offensive lineman, a wide receiver, and a defensive lineman. And all 3 have Oklahoma as either the leader or top 2. So, I mean, they're in a really good spot for all 3 of those guys going forward. I think Udunze would like to make a decision by the end of August. It's an OU Washington deal, as far as what he's told us. Monheim seems to be, I think the distance is an issue. I think Oklahoma's a leader, but I think it's just getting the distance out of his head being a problem.
Yeah.
If not, he probably will end up with USC, would be my guess. And then obviously with Arenze, it's one of those deals where he keeps coming back, and you think this is going to be the time he's going to commit, and it doesn't happen. Well, now he's trying to set up an official possibly for the Houston game, and I'll know pretty quickly here in the next week or 2 if that's going to be the case with him, because he's trying to line up everything. But he did say Oklahoma is pretty much his leader. So that's kind of where it sits. He's got a good relationship with Ronnie Perkins. He's got a buddy in the 2021 class, Travion Ford, that has Oklahoma at the top of his list. That's also from the same school as Ronnie Perkins at Lutheran North in St. Louis. And Travion was also down there. So Oklahoma's doing a fantastic job. They will start, I think, in the next month and a half, you'll start seeing some dominoes fall in the 2021 class. And from that point on, I think it's just going to be a bum rush to see who takes the spots.
Now, were there the JUCO guys there? The deep.
Yes, they didn't get an offer. Yeah.
Okay, because they're already committed though, right?
Quay Mays.
Yeah.
And
Justin Jackson.
Yes.
Yeah, but they're committed to somewhere else, but were invited.
Yeah, Quay's West Virginia, and Justin Jackson is with Tucker. dang it, the former, I can see his face, the former Georgia defensive coordinator, and he also worked at Alabama. So he knows a thing or two about defensive linemen and what they're supposed to look like, in my opinion. So I think Oklahoma is kind of checking the transcripts out, and also trying to kind of, figure out what's going to happen, obviously, with Arinze and maybe a couple of other defensive linemen like Princely Umamelian. I can never say that right. And he's coming for the Texas Tech game. And Oklahoma's in a really good spot with him. So I think they're trying to see how all that plays out, because basically Quay Mays and Justin Jackson told me, look, if Oklahoma's offers, I'm going to take an official no matter what.
Yeah.
Because it's OU. Why would I not?
Oh, exactly.
They understand they understand the difference between Colorado and Oklahoma and West Virginia and Oklahoma, and they obviously would love to be a part of the program. Now it's just, is Oklahoma going to offer? I don't know at that point. I don't think they'll offer right now, but I think I could see maybe early October, late September, an offer going out. And it may happen earlier. I don't know. But I just don't see it happening within the next week. Now, it could, but I don't see it happening.
Well, how many spots does Oklahoma have left in 2020?
7 or 8.
7 or 8.
I mean, obviously attrition could change that, but right now 7 or 8. I think 22, 23 is where you're looking at. And I think they got 15 or 16. I can't remember how many they got committed. So, they got 7 or 8 left. I think, once you get to that point, and it's kind of slim pickings as far as spots. And then obviously Oklahoma's trying to figure out what they want to do with the QB position. If they don't take a QB, I've been told they're going to take either another defensive lineman or so there's going to be one of three things. There's going to be another defensive lineman, it's going to be a fifth offensive lineman, or it's going to be a fifth DB. And those are your three choices. What they do, I don't know. I don't even know if Lincoln. I think Lincoln Riley knows. I think he's trying to kind of wait and see how everything else falls into place before he makes that decision of, okay, Coach Thibodeau, you're going to get this extra spot. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of where it sits, and it's a smart move by him. And like we were talking off air, you asked us, why are they not getting
why isn't this year like last year? is the questions that we've had.
They ranked second or third in the country? That's just, they don't have a quarterback. You don't have Spencer Rattler leading the charge. So when you don't have one of the top quarterbacks in the country, it's kind of the foothold or kind of the foundation to build off of with the class. It makes things a little harder, because it looks kind of awkward not having the QB in there, even the other kids, because those other players want to play with the top quarterback, because I know, well, if I'm going to a school that has a top quarterback, I'm going to win ball games. Well, obviously the 2020 players know that they have Spencer Rattler in 2019.
Right.
But they don't. I'm at 7-Eleven. Literally was going to get slushes from a kid, so sorry for the noise. So they don't. They get recruited again saying, look, they don't have a 2020 quarterback, so you could be without a good quarterback. Not really. These kids, they're not naive, but they're also gullible in the sense that not realizing that in 2021 Oklahoma has a 5-star quarterback already lined up. So it's a crazy deal, and it does affect your class. Now, I think Oklahoma's still going to have a top 10 class, but I think you're probably maxing out at 6 or 7 as high as you're going to get.
Yeah, which still isn't, I don't think is bad. My only deal is
that's how you win national title.
Yeah,
top 10 class, you go win national title.
My only thing is, and I could be wrong. It's a rarity, right, Rob?
Yeah.
But it seems like, again, like last year felt, and this year, like we're offensive heavy in the recruiting. We had Buki, 2 years ago that was kind of the here's a 5-star defensive player. What is it? Just because Grinch has got a late start? I've heard there's negative recruiting stuff out there.
Oh yeah.
With it, is that holding it up, or what exactly are they looking for on the defensive side of the ball? Obviously, we know what they're looking for on the offensive: receivers, running backs, gigantic linemen, because that's all we keep getting are these.
I'm okay with it.
These giant, 6'8", 6'9" guys coming in here. Nobody knows what we're looking at on defense, because I don't think our defense has an identity. As the speed D, you keep hearing that. What are they going after on the defensive side of the ball? What type of D lineman, linebacker, cornerback, safety? What are they looking for?
Well, as far as linebackers, they want a guy that can play inside and outside and have a seamless transition. Brendan Walker is a perfect example of that. So is Edrin Cooper. Speed off the edge. They have the length in the hips to come off the edge and be edge rushers if they have to, if they don't fit at the middle linebacker spot. So that's kind of what they're looking for at linebacker. Defensive line, they want guys that can slide inside and outside in the 270, 290 pound range. And obviously they like guys off the edge that are between 250 and 280 that can fly. They want guys with good long frames that they can put the weight that they want on. And David Uwegu is a perfect example, and so is Noah Renze. You look at them, they're long, lanky, slender. Another is Joseph Wethe. These guys, Oklahoma is going to get to do what they want with them physically and put the weight, the muscle on them that they want, and that's what they're going to play at. And they're going to be able to put them at the position that they want them to be at. And I think that Marcus Hicks is another guy who can slide inside and outside. I think Corey Roberson's going to be more of a 3-tech, but he also could be a 5 because of his versatility. And obviously he's a good player because Georgia, LSU, Alabama, all those guys wanted him as well. So that's kind of what they're looking for, and you see that in Perrion Winfrey. Perrion Winfrey's big, he's fast, he's physical, and everybody in the country wanted him. Everybody offered that kid. So there's a reason why he's the number 1 JUCO in the country, and Oklahoma got him. They got him. He's solid, and he's a really good piece to build off of once Neville Gallimore leaves, because he basically is Neville Gallimore light. Now, he's probably not going to be as fast as Neville. Neville is a freak of nature physically. When he goes to the combine, he is going to turn that thing upside down, and everybody's going to be in awe of the 4.6, high 4.6 that he runs. His shuttle is going to be out of this world. His bench is going to be out of this world. He's going to be, in Kenneth Murray, the same way. They're going to be combine freaks that blow themselves up in the rounds that nobody really thought they would be at. And I think also their play is going to help this year in a less intrinsic, kind of a less, I'm trying to think of the word, a less difficult defense to learn. It's more simplistic, basically pin your ears back, see ball, get ball type deal.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Grinch wants to do. And the players love it because now they get to rely on their athletic ability. And I don't think anybody ever questions Oklahoma's athletic ability on the defensive side of the ball. They question the mental aspect. And once you eliminate half that mental aspect, things become a lot easier and you get to play a lot faster. And now let's see how that pans out in 2019.
Yeah. Now, like I said, I'm trying to remember what some of the negative stuff was that I heard that he never called, that he wasn't calling plays up at
one call plays at Ohio State, just completely forgetting the fact that he was at Washington State. Every year they got better and better and ended up being one of the better defenses in the country. In the Pac-12, where offenses are no slouch.
Right.
And then obviously there was negative recruiting against Odom, being a young guy at the linebacker position.
That's right.
Manning not being a
defensive back coach.
Coached quarterback a couple of years at Michigan, but people also leave out the fact that they only gave up 119 yards a game passing when he was a DB coach at Michigan. So there's a lot of positives that Oklahoma could throw back in their face.
Yeah.
So it's one of those deals as to who the kid's going to believe. It's a he said, she said type deal, and whoever the kid believes is probably how it's going to work out in recruiting. Luckily for Oklahoma, it's worked in their favor more often than not lately.
Yeah. Now, with a lot of these kids, knowing how kids are some of them, some of the more elite defensive players, are they playing the I want to wait and see type deal? I mean, you can talk about the speed D.
Yes.
You can show them Washington video, but until you see it in the crimson and cream with an OU on the side of it, are some of these kids in the 2021 class and 22 going, I want to see what you're doing before I talk too much?
Absolutely. Yes. Again, go back to the name that is hard as hell to pronounce, Princely Umamelium. I think I got it right this time. So he'd be proud of me. I'm going to have to tell him. Basically, yeah, he said at the opening when I asked him, he said, look, I'm visiting Oklahoma for the Texas Tech game, he said something that really kind of hit a light bulb in my head. He said, I want to wait and see before I commit how OU looks on the defensive side of the ball. Basically insinuating, look, if OU is really good on the defensive side of the ball, there's a really good chance I'm going there.
Right.
Because it seems like he has always had an affinity for OU from the start. And obviously Texas is getting these other recruits right now and these other defensive linemen. So him waiting, there's some things kind of closing up, and who knows where Texas A&M is at that spot. But I can almost guarantee you, if Princely, even if OU's filled up, if Princely wants to come to OU, they'll find a way to make the numbers work. If they have to take from 2021, they'll do so. But they're going to try to get Princely because he's the perfect. He is Corey Roberson, part 2, Marcus Hicks, part 2, where he's going to be able to put the weight on. He's going to weigh 270, 280, 290, and be able to slide to that 5 tech, that 4-eye, even into the 3 tech. So he's going to be able to play the 3, 4, and 5 and do it at a really high level. And that's kind of what they want, the versatility, whether they're in the 3-man, 4-man front, whether they're in the hybrid 4-man front, whether they're in their 3, the 3-3-5, however Grinch decides to line up on in a certain play. He wants guys that can play multiple positions and stay on the field. And that way he doesn't have to rotate guys in and out all the time and have the chance to really kind of lose, I guess, talent, if you will, from player 1 to player 2.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I would think every kid, or at least the kid's parents, are going, wait a minute, y'all don't know what this defense is going to look like. Probably, I'm just assuming as a fan, looking at it from a fan aspect of what our defense was last year and the year before, there probably wasn't a whole lot other than I could go
crap.
Yeah, I could go there and play immediately. But you've got Oklahoma in the picture. We're going for 5 straight Big 12. 4 out of the last, or 3 out of the last 4 years in the playoffs. Haven't been able to get over that, 1 game hump because of one side of the ball. And
right.
I think a lot of fans, and again, that's us, are like defense focus. We keep saying,
yes.
The number 1 quarterbacks in the country and wide receivers, which are, I'm sure, I know our quarterback room and wide receiver and running back room is as good, if not better, than everybody in the country. And I think probably the best in the country.
Definitely spoiled in that aspect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, it's becoming that way on the offensive line. I mean,
yes, very much.
The biggest and best guys are coming to Oklahoma on that side of the ball, but they're playing with, it's like fighting with one hand tied behind your back,
Kinda. We're still pretty good at
But the
it.
talent on the defensive side of the ball is good, though. That's the thing. It's like there's not like they've been landing some players. They've landed 4- and 5-star guys probably the last four since. 2016 you had a 5-star in Caleb Kelly. Obviously he's injured this year. 2015 Neville Gallimore was a 5-star. 2017 you had 5- and 4-star guys everywhere in that defensive class. 2018 You had, again, 4 and 5-star guys. You had Buki, a 5-star. You had who was the other 5-star in that class? Trying to think of.
So it's there. It just wasn't getting.
No, Jalen Redmond.
Yeah.
Jalen Redmond was another 5-star. So I mean, basically, there is a lot of talent. It was completely being misused. Look, I'm a Mike Stoops guy, and I loved Mike Stoops as a person. I know Mike; he's a good man. I think that he just kind of, the pressure got to him a little bit. Not so much when I say pressure got to him. I think things just got stale, and I think he would probably admit to it. To this day, it just kind of got stagnant, and it's no fault of his own. I mean, it just happens sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I think, you heard the rumors why he was tossed up in the booth. I think that was part of it. He's not a booth coach. You know what I mean?
No, he's not. No.
You know, just when they would show him up in the booth, you know, we used to laugh and, you know, jump up and down when him and Bob would get into it, or he was getting, you know, my understanding was,
man, he was definitely dramatic, wasn't he?
You know, that there was some team saying, do you want to go play for a guy like that? I don't know if that's true, but look at what Venables does out in Venables is the same way. And I just don't think Mike was ever comfortable with that. And I think that made our defense stale, and he became the sacrificial lamb, and rightfully so. You know, and I loved how Lincoln handled it. It was like, it wasn't just Mike; it's all of us. Everybody in this room, you know, has a responsibility to that defense. And a lot of Sooner fans, not me and not Rob, thought the defense was going to turn around the next week. We were going to see something new. I was like, that ain't going to happen. You know, it's not going to happen. It's not going to turn around this year. It actually got worse. So, you know.
Yeah, it didn't work out the way they thought it was going to, unfortunately, but
they were still able to overcome it, with the exception of one game, you know. And if the offense didn't sputter, which is stuff that we had talked about before, if this offense ever does sputter, what happens? Well, guess what? It sputtered against Alabama. We saw one happen.
They were up 28 points, just real quick.
Yeah, that first quarter was a little rough, and then all of a sudden it turned out the real Oklahoma offense showed up, and they were better than anything that Alabama could throw at them as far as defensive wise, but it was too little too late at that point. But,
you know, I know from a fan aspect, that's one of the things that we keep looking at is where is the defense going to build from? What are they looking for? Because we get the eyeballs, you know, from Lincoln, which is still, I think, the most genius thing going in football right now. But we keep seeing the best offensive players lined up. You know, I'm not going to say begging, but the best offensive players waiting on that call from Oklahoma, and the best defensive players seem to be like, you know, let me wait, or I'll give it a shot, or something like that. And as fans, it's difficult because we want to see change immediately. And as Rob and I put it before, we don't want to become Texas Tech, have the high-powered offense, or the Washington State have the high-powered offense.
Well, and we just feel like we're so close. Close. I mean, if we just play a little bit of defense, we're talking natty, I think.
Yeah.
So.
And I can't. I'm 52, I think now. Yeah, 52. I can't
do the math there.
Yeah, I did. I forget how old I am all the time. But I can't handle 73 to 72 games, 55 to 50. I can't do it. I mean, I literally lose my mind. I mean, it is so hard. You know, now it wouldn't be so bad if it was every now and then.
Right.
Know? But when you're freezing to death watching Kansas throw 40 points on you, you know, it's just like, oh my God,
brutal.
I can't handle this.
I thought that was an excellent defensive performance.
You did. Really?
I mean, holding Kansas to 40. That's right there. That is what you're looking for out of
I think he's being facetious.
Yeah, I was like, is he serious? I may have to hang up now.
Pooh Williams, hey, Pooh made everybody look like Pooh on OU's defense.
Oh yeah, it was just it was a nightmare, and and then we go out against Texas in the Big 12 championship game, and
played a pretty decent game.
Well, looked like a defense, right? Yeah. Crazy.
And then showed up at the Orange Bowl and
or didn't.
Yeah, but
well, you know what? They actually weren't that bad. Quarters 2 through 4.
Right.
That first quarter, and I'll tell you this: the fumble / non-fumble, whatever you want to call it, changed the ball game completely for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because OU stopped them, and the momentum was on their side. And if everybody remembers correctly, they kind of started figuring out at the end of that first drive, okay, this is what we can do against them. And then all of a sudden, they got scored on, and it was, okay, now we've got to change up because we know we're not going to be able to stop them now.
Right.
Because the defense was such a shell of itself. They were confident. You could see the confidence brewing when they figured out that they got that fumble. And then when they got told, nope, sorry, bro, it's not a fumble. Saban said it's not a fumble, so it's not a fumble.
Yeah.
And that's how the world works. And okay, that's how it works. We all know that's how it works. I mean, even the Alabama people up in the press box were like, Saban's grafted, he's going to get his way, because that's just how it is.
Yeah.
He's earned that right.
Yeah.
For what he's done. So, I mean, that's something Riley will get more and more of as he gets older and wins more titles. But Saban's earned that right, being who he is. And that he's going to get his way with the officials more often than not. And that's what happened, and that changed the ball game. And Saban kind of knew that was a big play.
Yeah.
He made sure that went his direction. And from that point on, OU's fragile confidence was completely shattered.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, Lincoln will have that. I mean, he's already, I think, building that rapport. It was, I don't remember which game it was, but me and Rob were at Rudy's watching his coach's show, and it was the one targeting that I can't remember who got kicked out of the game.
CD?
Was it CD? I think. And well, anyway, Lincoln said, on the drive home from the stadium, he was on the phone with the NCAA head of officials, going, "Hey, man, come on, the rule is the rule is right the way they what's the word I'm looking for? There shouldn't be targeting, but you know what? If it's number one, if they say it's not targeting, then there shouldn't be a 15-yard penalty. Is that still how it is? That because they had to take it to film, the guy just doesn't get kicked off get kicked out of the game. It's still a penalty. Okay, that's not right. And if it's a flagrant, it's kind of like flagrant foul in basketball. If it's flagrant, kicking off.
There needs to be a 1 or 2 type deal.
Yeah, if he's coming in, he's got his head to the side, and the kid spins around, which I've seen in not just Oklahoma games, in a bunch of games where a kid spins out of a tackle and they hit helmet to helmet. That's not flagrant. That's football. Make it a make it a penalty. It's a and why aren't they calling offensive players for this? Because there's some running backs who lower their heads and
but they say that they're trying to defend themselves, so that's kind of the justification there. Unfortunately,
that's kind of like on Remember the Titans when they wanted to throw a flag on Ronnie Bass. Was it Bass, the quarterback? Sunshine.
Yeah.
And that's unnecessary reference on the quarterback. Come on, coach.
Yeah. When he tried to duck underneath. Yeah.
But. No, I mean, it's like I said, I know a lot of fans are getting itchy. Everybody's ready for football season to start. I know that. Yeah. And, but from our aspect and a lot of fans that, that we talk to that, again, which we love the conversations and stuff, we don't have any inside information.
No, except for what you're giving us now.
Yeah, what you're giving us now. And I mean, and I'm not, I don't ever hit you up for, hey, what's going on here or anything like that. It's just, we have and it's like, hey, we're fans just like you. We're banging our heads thinking the same things. That's what we talk about. That's why we talk about it, And from time to time we get, Brandon to come on and say, okay, guys, Here's what's going on and why. But there is a question that we need to ask you, okay? Because we talked about it when you were on last year about how you get stars, stars. Now, back in our day, it was blue chippers. You were a blue chip. Now,
yes, the Midland, the USA Today. Yep.
me and Terry, we were
the Parade All-Americans.
Yeah. We were purple chips.
we were tan chips.
Tan chips. Okay. Yeah.
What is the equivalent now of a blue chip? Is it a 5-star, or
I would say a high 3, low 4. Probably be a blue chip, and all the way up to a 5-star. Yeah.
Okay, it was
because those high 3 stars are usually pretty good players.
Yeah, everybody's wanting a 3-star and up. Pretty much is what. Yeah, so a blue chip was, you'd always hear on the radio, or when we're watching film in high school back in that day. Now this kid's a blue chip. Okay, everybody in the country wants him. We played Tulsa, Washington in 1984 when I was in high school, and they were loaded with blue chippers back. They were the Tulsa Union and Jinx of that time.
Yeah.
But I always, how does that correlate and explain again how you earn an extra star. If you're a 4-star, if you're a 3-star, how do you become a 4-star, 4-star, 5-star? How does that accumulate? Who decides that?
Oh, I mean, perfect example. Today, obviously, we dropped the 2021 top 250 for 247. I was in a discussion, an email chain with Barton Simmons all day. We were having a discussion about Brock Vandergrift, Ethan Downs, Colin Oliver out of Edmond Santa Fe, Kendall Daniels out of Beggs, who has an OU offer. The only person I haven't named right now that has an OU offer, the only person I named that doesn't have an OU offer is Colin Oliver, but that's not going to be long. He's so good. And then obviously AJ Green. Now all these from Tulsa Union. All these guys are guys I feel are 4-star or above. And I even talked about Brendan Walker, 2020 edge rusher, outside linebacker or linebacker, whatever he's going to end up playing at OU. I feel is a 4-star guy. And I put in my piece, my evals over him. Basically, you're going to get a ranking on the ground of your tape and your film. Now, in today's world, everything's moving to analytics. So you're going to want to see the analytical side of it, of how good is his team with or without him on the field, obviously. Are they doing this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then you're going to get the numbers side of it where, okay, what did he run in his 40? How much did he weigh? What was his height? What was his shuttle? What was his, 400-meter in track? What was his 100-meter? All that stuff comes into play because you want a guy that can run, that can move side to side, and obviously also that it correlates on the field, that he's a physical player and mentally there on the football field. So all those things accumulate to build your star. Now, if you go out there and you say you run, the last time you showed up at the opening as a sophomore and you ran a 4.62, and your film is way better as a junior heading into your senior year, and you weigh 250 pounds now instead of 240, and you go out there and you run a 4.6 flat or 4.59 or whatever. I'm just throwing out examples.
Mm-hmm.
That is there's a really good chance that you're going to get that extra star. Now, you may not be in the top 250, but you might get that extra star to give you a 4 from 3 to 4. And that's kind of how it works. Now, if you're already in and you got that 4th star, you've got to prove that you're elite. You have something that nobody else has to get that 5th star. And that's hard to do. You've got to be a pretty special player and really project to be a top 10 pick or a top 25, 30 pick in the draft. So you're going to be a first rounder. If you're a 5-star, you're a first rounder. That's what it says.
Does anything come into play of who's offered? I mean, does that come into play?
Yeah, obviously the offers kind of help.
If Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Michigan,
look, Bryson Washington, prime example, commits to Oklahoma, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was 87 or 86 was his number on 247. He commits to Oklahoma. I talked to a couple of people. Now all of a sudden he's fringe. He's a high 3-star, fringe 4-star, has a decent senior season. He's going to get his 4th star on 247 because he's committed to OU, one of the top 4 programs in the country.
Yeah,
obviously they're going to take what those coaches say at a higher regard than other coaches because they're the ones putting the kids in the NFL, and they know that that's where the talent is. So obviously if you're playing for Oklahoma or you start for Oklahoma, the chances of you being a 4-star are greater than if you play at Tulsa.
Very
or
talented.
Or you play or Baylor.
Yeah. Or Oklahoma State.
I mean, exactly. I mean, I wasn't going to say that, but
well, that's what we said it so you wouldn't, we didn't want to put you on the spot.
I'll throw the company line there. So exactly, those are your NFL pretty much farm systems. So you kind of pay attention to that as an analyst and somebody that goes in and ranks. And if Oklahoma is offering now, my deal with I'll even admit it today with Brock Vandagriff, I disagreed with 247 and I let it be known in a massive email chain. Hey, how can this guy not be a top 10 player in the 2021 class? One, when he's number 1 player in the other outlets, and number 2, Lincoln Riley, who the NFL seems to think has a pretty high IQ when it comes to quarterbacks, picked him over the other 2 guys that you ranked ahead of him. And those other 2 wanted an OU offer, visited Oklahoma, and OU didn't offer, and they stuck with Brock Vandagriff and made him their prime person that they went after the whole time. Now, to me, that means that he's probably the best quarterback in the country.
Yeah.
But 247 and Barton, who is the best in the business that there is, to his credit, he said in the write-up, Vandagriff has a chance to far surpass these guys by the end of the year.
No.
And so he left that open. And he left it open for good reason. So I'll give him credit there.
Yeah.
So he did it the right way. He may not have agreed with my way of thinking. He did bump him up 11 spots and gave him the opportunity to be the top guy come December or January. So we'll see how it plays out.
Cool. Okay, we got one more question for you.
Okay.
From the 2019 class, we'll make it 2 questions. Who will have the biggest impact in the coming year, whether offense or defense, and who is going to surprise people in the coming year from last year's recruiting class, from the 2019 class?
Okay.
Who has the biggest year?
Okay, the biggest year, I'm going to go with Trajan Bridges.
Okay.
I just think the fact that he's so versatile, can move inside and outside, I think that he is going to. And I'll do this. I'll give you one on offense. I'll give you one on defense.
Okay.
I think Trajan on offense is going to be the guy. It's going to be either him or Theo Weiss, obviously. And then I will say that Spencer Rattler is a guy, obviously, if injuries happen, quarterback has an opportunity always to be have the biggest year. But I still think the fact that Trajan Bridges can play inside and outside, and we all saw what he did during spring games, so he's obviously impressing and doing the things that he needs to do. I think all 4, because Stogner, I think all 4 are going to be superstars and going to be very, very good players, all Big 12 players, and I think they're all going to be first, second, third round picks in the NFL. I think that's pretty much what everybody thinks.
Yeah.
On the defensive side, I think Jaden Davis has a chance to be really good, but I think David Uwegu, Marcus Hicks, and Corey Roberson have a chance to really solidify themselves. And Woody Washington, I think the defensive players in the 2019 class are very good, and I think all of them are going to be in somewhat of the rotation for the most part. I think there's a couple that may not, but I think when you're talking Jamal Morris, Woody Washington, Jaden Davis, Jeremiah Cradell, David Webu, Marcus Stripling, Marcus Hicks, and Corey Roberson. I think those guys are going to play a lot and at least get the opportunity to play a lot. And whoever comes out of that bunch, I think, is going to be the guy that really makes a massive impact on the defense. And I know that's naming a lot of names, but those names have come up to me over and over and over this offseason as guys that they expect big things of this year and years to come at OU.
And they're all out of the 2019 class.
And they're all 2019.
Yeah.
That was a really good defense class.
Yeah, which it's,
As far as guys that I think that are on campus, like have been on campus, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Deshaun White, Jalen Redmond, and Levi Draper do this year.
Yeah.
Because I think you see Levi Draper, he's already up to 242 pounds. That was basically his holdup the whole time, was he couldn't put on the weight to play that inside backer that they want him to play, and now he does. And Kenneth Murray's saying that he's faster than him. Now and he's the most athletic. Now that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Now is he going to pick up the mental aspect of the game as well as he did the physical aspect? And I think that's yet to be seen, because we know Brian Meade, the walk-on, has that mental aspect down, and that's why he plays so much.
Yeah.
And Deshaun White, he's a freak.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Oh, I've heard that a bunch.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
one of the things that I know that last year and this year's class that Rob and I have noticed is, especially on the defensive end side of the ball, or the defensive end position, has been the length of the players, because we can all talk about Oboe and Stryker. They were undersized, okay, and they're what, 6'6'1", both of those guys.
Yes.
And we all got.
I think Oboe was like 6'2".
We all got mad because they were dropping back in coverage and everything else. Well, now we're getting, like you said, like Marcus Hicks, these guys that are 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", coming off the edge, like you were saying earlier. They got the length, they got all that stuff. We're starting to see the prototypical style of defensive players that we were used to seeing at Oklahoma, and for some reason we went to that, I don't know, smaller lineup there for a couple of years. I think to try to combat.
They thought that was what they needed to do for the Big 12.
Yeah,
and it
combat the Big 12, and it blew up.
That's fine until you play outside the Big 12 in the
playoffs. until like, I heard people say when they played Clemson, the first time in the Orange Bowl,
just more physical.
Yeah, they were just that much, and even players that played in, I think it was Stryker who said afterwards, we got to get bigger and stronger. That was the difference. Well, you can get bigger and stronger, but you can't get taller. I mean, you can't get that type of big that they had. Yeah, so, and it's good to see that we are moving towards that. And I think the Big 12 is moving out of that, the quote air raid.
I think Oklahoma's kind of, I don't think they're leaving the air raid. I think Oklahoma has kind of proven that
a more balanced attack is where you...
Yes, Oklahoma's balanced, and Oklahoma kind of bullies everybody with their balance, and I think people are trying to catch up with that. The problem is they're playing catch-up. Oklahoma's been there, and once you start playing catch-up, it's hard to get there with a team that's solidified themselves as that, upper echelon staple when it comes to schematically what they're doing. And you're trying to do that. You're basically trying to be a carbon copy version of what they've been doing for years, and to get to that point you need to be doing it for years like they have been doing, and it's going to take time. You may catch them, but it's probably not going to be this year, I guess is what I'm saying.
Now
obviously Texas thinks they're back, and we've heard it over and over. But I'm of the belief that I do think OU and Texas are the top two teams, but I still want to see. They lost 8 players on defense. I want to see how they react to that. They've recruited well, but getting those youngsters in and playing up against a Lincoln Riley offense in the Cotton Bowl, that's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
And in LSU, game 2 or 3, we're going to know exactly what Texas is made of.
Yeah.
Real early.
Real quick. Well, Brandon, everybody can catch you again on the Young and Drum podcast. and that's out on kind of like us
everywhere.
iTunes,
yeah, basically, yeah.
105.3 CBS Radio. And
maybe some news coming there soon.
Yeah.
We talked about off the air.
Yeah.
So.
And, one that I recommend, guys, is the Drum Beat on OUInsider 24/7 Sports. I read it pretty much every week when I go there, and it's guys like Brandon is where we get our stuff to talk to you guys about as fans. So, and he's kind enough to take time out in the evening after a football practice and going and getting Slurpees and all that stuff to share some of his knowledge with us. And Brandon, we appreciate it, and we hope to get you on again.
Yes, sir. No problem. I can do it again sometime. Sure.
All right. Well, Rob, you got anything else,
No,
man?
man, I really appreciate it, Brandon, and it's always good stuff.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's the podcast for today. Boomer Rob.
Boo, Jerry.
Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah, no problem. See y'all.
Thanks for listening to the Sooner Football Fans Podcast. Sooner Football Fans Podcast is hosted by Rob Nixon, Terry Long, and occasionally Caleb Long. It is produced at the beautiful Podcast Palace in Norman, Oklahoma. Follow us on Twitter at SoonerFBFans and like our Facebook page at Facebook.com/Sooner Football Fans, and visit our website at www.SoonerFootballFans.com to read our blogs and keep up with our tailgating activities. Boomer Sooner, everyone.